Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this gorgeous, gorgeous day in Greenwich, Connecticut. Right now, we are on a Zoom call with State Senator Bob Duff from District, what is it, Bob?
25.
25.
New
Welcome.
Haven
How are
area.
you? You
Good. How are you?
really good, really good. Just gorgeous out. Where are you? You've got Aurora Borealis happening behind you on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm not. I am definitely not in Iceland or where any of the Northern Lights are. But I just thought it was kind of a cool background. So
Oh, Northern Lights. I love it. Okay. So, a lot's going on for you. You were just elected to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Talk to me about that. This is really the first I've heard of it. Tell me why it's important. And you're vice president, kind of setting up to be president, as I see.
right, right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Good to talk to you and your listeners and answer any questions you might have. So yeah, the National Conference of State Legislature is really important. I've been involved with them for a number of years now. I served on their foundation board, served on the executive committee, nominating committee, a bunch of different things. And what they do is they represent all state legislatures around the country and Puerto Rico and a few others. So I think there's 56 state legislatures in total within the country that we represent because there's territories, things like that. Plus also about 30,000 staff as well. And that's been really important. So what we do is we work on a bipartisan basis to try and protect our institutions, try and move things forward. And, in these very divided times, I think it's a really great opportunity to try and work together with Democrats and Republicans on issues where we can find solutions. So for example, there was in the big awful bill that was just voted on by Congress, the reconciliation bill. There was a provision, they tried to put a provision there about limiting artificial intelligence regulations for 10 years. And I serve, as well as Senator James Maroney from Connecticut, on the AI cybersecurity data privacy task force with National Conference of State Legislatures. And we worked very hard within that group, within 50 states, Democrats and Republicans, to defeat that provision out of that bill, which was really good. Now, the rest of the bill was terrible. This would have been another awful component of that, but we came together to say, no, we have states' rights, and states' rights should triumph in this issue. So that's really kind of important. So we're working on those kinds of things. I worked with the Speaker of the House in West Virginia on data privacy, working together on that. We worked together on a bipartisan basis to pass things like the Ireland trade commissions in various states. We've worked hard on a number of different issues when it comes to, again, states' rights or other issues such as Medicaid. And one year you have a Democratic president, which we have right now, Marcus Evans from Illinois. Next year we'll have a Republican president,
Oh, interesting.
from Montana. Then it'll be my turn, and then after that it'll be whoever's elected vice president from the Republican side next year. So it's a 4-year track. It's really great, and it's just an opportunity again to serve in different ways. I thought I was the first person to serve in this role from Connecticut. I am the first state senator. I think the first
Okay.
person actually was Irv Stolberg from Connecticut in the 80s. Nobody told me that.
Wow. A while
Uh,
ago.
that was a while ago. So it's been a long time since we've had anybody from Connecticut.
Mm. Well, congratulations on that. And again, it's to your point, this is such an important time as we're seeing the federal government tearing down institutions right and left, from the EPA to the Department of Education, et cetera. So maintaining some coordination slash power slash making sure that the states' rights maintain as well as they can, because we are now seeing an attack, certainly in Texas, with this redistricting mid-cycle. I think now it's 5 years out of a 10-year cycle, which is going to cause probably 5 more Republicans to be elected. So how are you thinking and handling that particular situation? What are you talking to your fellow legislators about?
Well, I think a lot of us think that it's outrageous that this is happening, that this is totally unprecedented. And the problem with these kinds of things is that it's a race to the bottom, and it's undemocratic. We do this every 10 years. In Connecticut, we have a constitutionally mandated process where we actually have 8 people. We have 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans on there, and we work together to draw our maps. We've legislatively from our state legislature, we have worked very well together on the maps for the House and Senate. We have disagreements on we've had disagreements on the congressional maps. Last time the courts decided the maps for us for the congressional, which I think they sided with more on the Democratic side on that, because we weren't trying to gerrymander it. The Republicans were trying to gerrymander it.
Uh-huh.
We see, but then you're going to see California, New York, and others do it. It's just, again, it doesn't bring confidence. You win. I personally would rather see more districts that are competitive. I think that's
Yes,
better for our country to have competitive districts rather than gerrymandered districts. This is where you get the extremism on both sides.
exactly.
And so, having districts where you have to compete for votes, you have to compete because whose idea is best. That's what America is all about. It's not rigging the system because your ideas can't win.
That's right. That's right. And that's why we're a democracy. And that's why you're doing what you're doing, because you're going to make sure we maintain some of this power at the state level so we really can live with law that we can all live by. And that's the point of our democracy here. So we just had a big session, Bobby. I think there were some fantastic things that happened. I love the childcare. There's an incredible amount of great initiatives. Talk to me about housing. It looks like there's going to be a special session. I'm not sure if that's actually happening. Fair share law. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, 5002, which is our big housing bill that the House Majority Leader and I worked on, along with our chairs of the Housing Committee and the chairs of the Planning and Development Committee, was vetoed. We um, tried to do everything we could to prevent that veto from happening, but unfortunately, a decision was made. So now we got to try and put that back together again and still have a strong bill. So that's what we're going to try and do. I think we will hopefully get in special session if we get an agreement on the bill by the end of September. I think everybody's working in good faith to try and get that done.
Mhm.
But as we know, it's not easy to try and do something like this over the summer. Our legislature is part-time. We meet January to June, and now we're trying to put something together again. And it's taken a long time because who's away, who's going to conferences, who's on vacation, who's working, who's doing actual other jobs. So it makes it a little more difficult, but I think we all understand the necessity and the
Mhm.
urgency in getting this done. And we want to get it done because we want to get good policy through for the people of the state of Connecticut. Frankly, there's two arguments you can have on this, Trevor. You can have the moral argument of needing more housing for people, because that is certainly a valid argument to make, that we definitely need more housing. And that's why, we see more people who are homeless or unhoused. And we need that. We need to find places for them to live, and we need to build housing so that people have an opportunity, whether it's seniors or college students or the middle class or people just coming in, whatever. Um, but you could also make the economic argument as well, just as easily.
Of course.
You
Of
can't grow this
course.
economy without having more housing. And frankly, you're seeing places like Texas and Florida just eat our lunch on
Mhm.
housing. You saw a state like Oregon pass a number of housing bills. New Hampshire passed a number of housing bills.
That's right.
Montana
They
has
did.
passed a number of housing bills. So you're seeing some red states, some blue states, but definitely some red states that are passing laws that are much
Conducive
more
to.
aggressive than anything we're doing. They would consider those bills in Connecticut completely radical. And we're
Mhm.
trying to put together what I think is modest comparatively to what you're seeing in some of those other states.
Interesting, interesting. Well, it's such an important part of the cost of living here, and how do we get to a place where people can, as you're saying, are unhoused. Those who are unhoused have a place to go, but also for our kids to be able to move back and live nearby. I mean, it's so expensive; it's almost impossible for people coming into Fairfield County for the first time. You have to have an incredibly two big incomes, frankly, to afford it. So I would love to see some of this changed.
Well, think about it this way too, and because you mentioned early childhood education, and that was a big
Mm,
component of what we did this year in Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 2, but and also some of our House bills. But I just want to mention that um, think of the investments we make in our kids from the most early time
yeah.
through, if they stayed in state schools, whether it's our state schools like Eastern, Southern, Western, um, or Central, or they go to UConn or of our community colleges. And then they move out of state. All that time and effort and money that we put into educating them and getting them to be the best and the brightest is going to another state. We've now just subsidized another state for all that we've put into it. It's a terrible investment then to, it's a bad return on your investment, I should say, just to have somebody. It's a great investment always to make for our kids, but it's a terrible return on the investment to make if our kids end up moving out of state. So that's what we don't want to do. That we want to keep that great return on our investment to make sure that our kids can still continue to live here.
Such a good, important point. Anybody tuning in right now, this is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends. I am happy to be on a Zoom call with Senator Majority Leader Bob Duff. We're discussing investing in our kids. We have early childcare, but we also have one of the best school systems in the country. But because of the unaffordability of living here, we're getting a brain drain. Many of our young people cannot afford to come back here. And Senator Duff is saying, these other states are eating our lunch, whether it's Texas or Oregon, they're Florida, they're passing some radical housing laws that we really need to sort of wake up and say, if we want to get this economy going, we want to keep our kids here, we got to make some changes and really ask for our legislators to get involved. So Bob, I want to move on to some kind of really, unfortunate, terrible stuff that's happening right here, right in your town, right nearby. I know that you had some protests regarding ICE and what's happening with that. I also had mentioned to Mayor Caroline that one of her state reps, Corey Paris, has been threatened with violence. I feel like we're moving into a new era here, Bob. What are you thinking, and how are we going to cope with this?
Yeah, it's really unprecedented. We're really at unprecedented times right now, and it's important for everybody to focus on saving our democracy. And it's something, anybody who's followed me on social media, anybody who's followed me, what I've said in the public, this is not something new for me. I've been talking about this for the better part of 10 years, and definitely more intensely over the last year or more. But this is what I was afraid of, and this is what I warned people about. What would happen? People are like, "Oh, well, the cost of eggs are too high, and he won't do all those things he's going to say." I'm like, "Yes, he's going to do all those things he said." And so, be prepared for the worst part of this, which is what we're experiencing right now. You've got National Guard troops in Washington, D.C., that are literally just, as like a police state. You've got people who are undocumented who were actually on their way to work. And undocumented folks actually pay taxes because they have employee identification numbers, not doing anything wrong, earning a living and paying taxes and living here. So they pay income taxes, they pay sales taxes, and if they own a home, then they would pay property taxes. If they don't, they rent, and those property taxes are within their rent. So we saw people getting tased outside of their truck and literally falling to the ground, hitting his head so hard that I had to go to the hospital. This is a warrantless arrest. Not somebody who, as far as I know, was violent. I guess we'll find out more as it goes along if we ever find where this person is being held. These people are being held. And then we see what happened in Stanford Courthouse. It's the same thing. People are not going to want to go to the courthouse. And some people we're seeing are American citizens getting pulled over. We're seeing veterans who are being detained. We're seeing people who are just checking in because of their green card, who are in the process of getting their citizenship. So, people use all these things. They're like, well, just do it the right way. Well, people are trying to do it the right way, and they're getting stymied from even legal check-ins at court. So, that's a problem. And people say, well, what are you going to do? Well, we've actually, we've enhanced the Trust Act for the third time now in the legislature. We've said that schools have to have a person in charge of every single school in case ICE comes knocking at the door. The best thing for people to do is to stand up and speak out, because that's what we need. We need more people in the streets. We need people to say, if they agree that this is not acceptable, we need people out there. We don't need people out there by the hundreds. We need people out there by the thousands. And that's my message to folks, is that, yes, folks like me, elected officials, are doing everything we can, but the power lies with the people, and the people have to take the power.
Okay. please, if you're listening in right now, this is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends. I'm on a film with State Senator Bob Duff, and we're discussing ICE and what's happening with these warrantless arrests, the violence of these people being tased right on the streets, hurting their heads, being pulled away from courthouses as they're trying to follow the laws and get their processes, whether it's to green card or become citizens. And this is really growing fear and chaos in the community. And these people pay taxes. They pay taxes in many ways, whether it's income tax or rent, etc. And they're part of our community. So Bob Duff's point here is he can fight all he wants, but the only way to make it really happen is people have to go onto the streets. If you're okay with that, well, okay, go ahead. You're not going to be on the streets protesting, but those of you who care and see these citizens, now U.S. citizens getting pulled aside, even veterans, warrantless arrests. We got to start protesting, everybody. I believe that.
Yeah. And the problem is, you mentioned Corey as well. I spoke to Corey yesterday, offering my support. It's, seeing the, ICE and Justice Department weaponized, getting harassed. And I'm using that term lightly because it's very serious by libs of TikTok. It's terrible. I got a taste of them earlier this year when we were doing the library bill, where it was, libraries couldn't ban books, and that was a problem for libs of TikTok. And so I got a little taste of that, and I got a death threat from somebody in Idaho.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a 1/10 of what Corey's getting. And they're literally saying they're going after his family in other states. They're coming after his wife. They're, all these different things. And, this should not happen. This should not happen. We should be better than this, and we have to be better than this. And I hope that your listeners and others there's going to be a point where people get to a line and they're going to say things have crossed that line. Everybody may have a different place where that line is, but I hope that the majority of this country gets to that line very quickly.
We all need to hear that message. And again, I don't think a lot of people here in Connecticut realize that these things are happening right here. The political violence is seeping into every aspect, every corner of this country. And I think the line was passed a few months ago when the state senator from Minnesota was gunned down with her husband, Melissa Portman, and her dog. It's just mind-boggling to me how anyone can use political violence in this way. And that's what's really happening right now. And Corey Paris, he posted just a couple things on his social media saying, come on, people, you got to help protect these immigrants, give them a heads up, etc. None of that was violent. Yet the return rage coming from libs of TikTok and others has just overwhelmed all of us. And then that was amplified by Homeland Security. So I don't understand this. Like, don't they have some guardrails? So they add to the outrage and not outrage, but the violence. I don't even understand how that works. Isn't somebody there to say it? You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, the conspiracy, people have been fed this stuff for a long time. And so they're just channel this anger and this, we're not watching the same things anymore on TV. And so can't come to our own opinions on things. People watch things that are tailored for their opinions, and then it makes it worse. So there's benefits of social media, but there's a lot of bad side effects of social media as well.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. But to your point of this, where's that line? Where do other Americans say we're not okay with this? This has just gotten too far, gone too over the top. And what is it going to take some other senators and state legislators to get killed for this? I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, but it's got to really rise up from the people. I mean, as I tell people all the time, whether it's on this or, say a pesticide bill, think of me as like the colonel in the army charging up the hill. If I'm charging up the hill by myself and I don't have people behind me, I'm going to get, I'm going to lose. You need to have the army behind you, folks, in order to, to win. So you need grassroots support. You need people who are behind you and who will be with you on these things. I can lead all I want, but I need people to follow. And if you're a one person army or, one man band, as the old saying goes, then you're not going to get anywhere. So you need that kind of swell of support to help you. I think we're getting there. I think I see a lot of people out there, but we live in Connecticut, so we need to see the same kind of thing happening in other states. But what happened in this reconciliation bill that the Republicans passed in Congress, that's going to strip away Medicaid for folks, that's stripping away food assistance, that's going to strip away education funding and energy. It's going to increase energy costs. It's going to, basically just transfer wealth from the poorest people in the country to the most wealthy people in the country who don't need it. It's outrageous. And these are the same people who, go to their churches on Sunday and pray to be forgiven for their sins. And I'm like, well, just, I don't think my Jesus would really approve of what just happened here with the wealth transfer from the poorest to the richest. He would want the wealthy to take care of those who need the most. And that's what I was always taught when I went to church, and I go to church. And so to me, it just seems criminal that we would make these kinds of cuts. And that's, the Medicaid and the SNAP are just some of the highlights. There's going to be other, increasing electric costs. Think so what's happened with tariffs now, with increasing food prices. What is happening right now is really awful for working people, for seniors, for the poor. And so that's why we all need to keep veterans. We all need to keep speaking up. Yeah, absolutely.
So something that I never thought about, and I ran for state senate. It never occurred to me that this would be something that you would be doing that is deeply courageous. Like, you're now actually in a position, Bob, you're majority leader. These people might want to come after you, and you're the general running up that hill. You're going to need that groundswell, but you also need a lot of courage these days. This is not just like, well, I go do my job and it's safe and it's great. It's scary. How do you cope with that?
Well, you just try to be aware of your surroundings. I mean, I knew Melissa Hortman, and we traveled together in different places. She was just a lovely, lovely person. So when I found out she was assassinated, it really just took the wind out of me for a while. So that's why we all have to be careful. But it's crazy that we even have to have this conversation. We should win on ideas. You don't win on violence. But people are just so, they've been so wound up with this anger machine that's out there that it's crazy. And, for people to think that somehow, vaccine shots are meant to kill people, or that voting has been rigged, or, research is bad, or college education is bad, or any kind of, anything that we've taken for granted in this country for the last 50, 60 years that has helped advance us is bad, is really awful. And so, the kind of this mistrust, or this disintegration of institutions isn't good. Now, I am glad that we're focusing on building trades and that we're focusing on more manufacturing and things like that. But we need to focus on advanced manufacturing, not
Yes.
screwing little widgets in iPhones, but advanced manufacturing. Great, I'm all for it. I've been for it for a long time. I'm all for getting degrees for higher education, because that actually helps people to think more broadly. And there's plenty of Republicans and Democrats who have college degrees. So it just makes you a Democrat. As I wrote in after the protest, one of the most meaningful trips I ever took was to Normandy, France, and seeing the D-Day cemetery, and seeing that where those 17, 18, 19-year-old boys, mostly boys, and I don't know if there are any women there, but I think mostly boys, knew when they were on their way to storm that beach, that they knew that they were probably going to die. Just imagine being in that position, but you're doing it because of you believe in this country, and you believe in the fight for freedom and not fascism. And, we respect that their remains that are there in that cemetery by the world order we've had for the last 60 years or 80
Yes.
years. We respect that by the greatest peacetime expansion in our world's history. We, respect that by adhering to the rule of law in our institutions. You don't like it? Vote other people in, I guess, but still follow within the framework and the guidelines and the boundaries of our Constitution. That's what we have to be fighting for, and that's how you honor those who gave so much for our freedom. And when you see that cemetery, it tell you it puts a lump in your throat and makes you. I will tell you that when we went there, I was with a bipartisan trip with NCSL, and we went to the flagpole where they raised the American flag, and we brought a wreath there, and the lady clicked on the national anthem, and there was tall, short, Democrat, Republican, men, women. There wasn't one person who wasn't crying, who didn't have tears coming down their faces because of the moment that we were in, and the pride of being an American, and the memory of those who had served and sacrificed. So that's what we've got to keep in mind, and that's what we've got to honor.
I love that. It's such an important point. We're going to wrap up in just a minute, but I've been honored to be on with a Zoom call with Senator Bob Duff. We've been discussing a range of topics, but right here at the end, I think we're touching on the most important part, which is saving our democracy. We've watched this institution by institution tearing down of what's important in our country, from vaccines or health or research to college to the EPA. It goes on, and it's kind of mind-boggling in my mind. But ultimately, we're looking at real violence, and we're seeing it right now in our very own state, right down the street, right next door, with our friends. And Corey Paris, I'm just sending my thoughts out to you and your family today. We don't want to see this political violence, and Bob's very eloquent about this. We've got to look at this, and we need to have this line in the sand, but he also needs his people behind him charging up that ridge, that hill. So Bob, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We have a lot of work to do, and stay safe. Stay safe. Thanks again.
Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so much. This is WGCH 1490 AM, Trevor Crow, Trevor and Friends. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have a great show for you.